What did you see after watching the tape of your group from their performance?
I think there's there's a lot of positives. I think getting it. The big thing that we talked about as a staff was getting it to a game in the fourth quarter, and so halftime when it was 14-3 is kind of what we told them. Hey, we're right there, and then you get into the fourth and it's 14-11, and one stop away from being able to change the dynamic and trajectory of that game, and frustrated that we came up short. I think the biggest areas to improve, we watched the film, was number one, missed tackles. We had, I think it was 20 on PFF. I think we counted 23 as a staff, just missed tackles. And they have good players, don't get me wrong, but those were the tackles that we made week one that, for whatever reason, we didn't do a good enough job of getting them down in space. And with an offense like that, their longest run was 2 missed tackles. The last drive got going with a missed tackle. We get an open field tackle in that situation and get them down. Then it's second 9, second 10, and it's a different dynamic. Instead of them rolling, we're barely lined up. They hit the RPO glance, and then the next thing they're in the red zone. And so with an offense like that, winning on first down was such a key factor going into the game. We didn't as a group collectively execute on third down well enough. Third and medium in particular, there were some calls that I wish that I had back in the game. But there was stuff too that we emphasized as a staff that the number one concept we knew they were going to get on third and medium that we discussed all week was in their tips, was in their quiz the night before, and we didn't execute on it 3 times. And so that was frustrating. That was kind of the big coaching point to the guys was when we talk about situational football, how important that is, because we limited them to 4 explosive plays, and that's our goal, to be top 25 in the country. In explosive plays, statistically, you're 4 or less. And so when you limit an offense like that to 4 explosive plays, you've done pretty good. It's just executing on third down to get off the field. And, there were times we executed better on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 than we did on 3rd and 5 to 6. And, we really, the first drive was the only time we really got them into a 3rd and long situation where we could call it like 3rd and long. We made a call late where they'd crossed the 50 and called a 3rd and long call where they ran the ball and we didn't fit it up, and we were in more of a pass mentality, and that was one I wish I had back. We just we didn't get him. I felt like if we got him in a 3rd and long, we felt really good about our plan. Just we didn't get him into enough. So the tempo of the game, we knew how fast it was going to be. It was fast. There was 5 calls that that I counted that I didn't get in quick enough. The first touchdown was a bust on us, something we'd worked all week, and we missed the communication. And if we get the communication piece right and the safety rolls to the middle, it's probably a TFL. And that kind of scared, when we busted that, we probably became a little bit simpler to some things. Just because at that point it was like, okay, we can stop these guys. Our guys were confident, so we played a little more base and just trying to get cleats in the dirt and get lined up at times. So definitely things that I could have done better. Definitely things as a group that we got to get better at from a fundamental and just situational understanding.
At the same time, to hold a team that had scored 73 points, I think punted once the week before to 28, and 2 of those were on short fields, have to feel pretty good overall about what this defense was able to do against a high-powered offense.
Yeah, well, we have really high expectations for our group, and so I want to make that clear. I mean, are we proud of how tough we played, how hard we played? Absolutely. But there's also no moral victories in this, and we lost a game that we felt like we could have had, and we were 1 stop away. I felt like, despite some of the circumstances in the game, we still was 14-11 in the fourth quarter, and we get a stop right there. The way our offense had been eating up clock, in particular, I know they hadn't put necessarily all the time touchdowns on the board, but they did a great job, I felt like, of keeping us off the field at times, and but that's what we expect. I mean, the expectation is for us to be an elite defense, and we have the guys to do it. We just got to keep getting better. And I think it's like we told them after the game. I mean, we could have scheduled Army, or we could have scheduled Oklahoma a year ago, and we talked about it. And why would you not want to try to play the best team to take that challenge? Going into conference play and everything else. So, but we got to bounce back this week, and one game's not going to define us. For the good things that we did or the bad, a lot of areas to improve, a lot of positives to build off of, and we got to flip the page and focus on Prairie View now.
What was the rotation similar to what you guys saw in the early goings of Louisiana Tech? Did you guys tighten it down, and what did you learn about that rotation overall?
Well, I trust. I think we played D-line wise, like all of our D tackles we played 40 tackles. They were all around 40 snaps. I think from an execution standpoint, I think corners, rolled pretty good. We had the early bust, and and I told those guys, hey, that the one play can't define you, but in a game like that is going to be such a tight game, we can't give up, an easy 7 points in that situation. So early on, kind of went with more of the veteran guys, and then, I think you'll see us, be able to play around with the lineup based on performance from this last week, and those guys that didn't perform as well, then they're going to have to come out and practice and earn that playing time. And I see it like that throughout the course of the season. I feel like from a safety standpoint, from a backer standpoint, I think Coach Crum's the same way. Corners, we've got good depth, and you got to continually challenge those guys to rise up, because at some point those guys are going to have to be in there, maybe if they're not rolling out with the ones when the game's on the line. So, but yeah, for an early season game, there's times in that game where, for sure, especially in the first half, I just felt like guys that were communicating, guys that were maybe more veteran guys, so to speak, gave us a chance to not give up an explosive. And then as the game went on, tried to get some more of those other guys back in there. So you'll see us move some lineup changes, I think, around this week for sure.
And then obviously coming off a big game like going to Oklahoma with TCU, how do you kind of try and keep the guys focused this week? Do you have enough veteran guys that maybe that's not as big a worry as maybe it could be?
Well, I think, one, Coach Hall did a great job. He talked to the team and just kind of their perspective from coaching in that league. We know that this is their Super Bowl. This is a huge game for those guys to be able to come. A lot of Dallas guys coming to play on center stage back home. So, I think when you have a veteran group of guys, understanding that the preparation has to be the same every single week. You can't change because you're playing Oklahoma or TCU. You prepare like you do in the NFL. Those guys have to do it week in, week out, or every single team can beat you. So I think I think as a group, I'd expect us to come out and be focused and ready to play, because they have a good football team. They have quarterbacks that can really run. They've got backs that can run. They rushed for 330, 340 against Abilene last week. So when you look at the numbers and you look at 14 points, but you look at the amount of yards they had rushing, it's they got a good squad. And so, we're going to focus on the next week. It's the next opportunity for us to get better at us. And I think that's the main thing that we're looking at, is we want to come see, us tackle better, us be able to win in man coverage better, us be able to just focus on the fundamental things week in and week out.
Jonathan McGill in the game he had, what did you think of it, and just how big of a leader? Did you see his leadership come out in an environment like that?
Yeah, I think he's always a leader. I'm not down on the sidelines, so I don't get to witness it firsthand. But I think he's just got good maturity and good sense to him. I think he ended up playing, by the end of it, probably a little bit too many snaps for the amount of snaps he's playing on special teams too. And I think that's looking at having an opportunity to get a guy like Ahmad Moses more snaps in there in a game like that. And the good thing about Jonathan is he's got position flexibility. He can play any of the three safeties, right now for us. And so with him getting minimal reps in practice, so I think just overall as a group, trying to get more guys in early in the game so we can be fresher in the fourth quarter too. Did that correlate to some of the plays in the fourth? I don't know, but I know there were a lot of missed tackles on those last two drives, and there were times where the guys out there looked gaslight.
And then obviously you don't want to take the opponent for granted, but is this the type of game that if the situation allows for it, you're able to get some of those threes and maybe even some fours into the game and really see what they can do in game situations and get them some experience if they are needed down the road?
Yeah, it'd be great, but like I said, we're not going to take anybody for granted, and so we're going to prepare no different than how we did the last week and expect our guys to come out as such. And yeah, if that situation arises and presents itself, that's an awesome situation to be in, but we definitely can't count on that.
Quick question on just recruiting and the response that you guys have gotten from the ACC news. What have you seen and noticed from some of the guys you talk to now?
Well, I just think at the end of the day, if you're an elite player in Dallas, why would you not want to go anywhere else but stay here. I mean, why would you want to go to Lubbock or Baylor when you can go play Miami and Florida State and Clemson and do it right here in Dallas? With the facilities we have, the trajectory of this program right now. So I think we'll continue to be able to make headways in recruiting moving forward.